Hello everybody, my name is Gina and I started this channel, Obedience Brings Healing, because I wanted to share my testimony and I wanted to share the ministry that was primarily instrumental in my healing that the Father brought me to. The name of that ministry is Be in Health, and they are out of Thomaston, Georgia, and I will be putting a link down below to take you to their website and their YouTube channel so you can get more information for yourself. Just a little bit of a background about myself. I am married. I've been married for 20 years. I have 2 teenage children, one of which is definitely one of my miracle babies, because they told me that I wouldn't have any more children, and I did, which was quite a blessing. To give you a little bit of background about where I come from, spiritually speaking, I grew up in a very liberal, secular type background. My mother wanted nothing to do with religion, and my father ended up becoming a believer later on in life. He died when I was 10. My mother passed in 2006 when I was 36 years old, so she was in my life also only for a short time. My mother ended up becoming a believer, and she also did experience some healing along the way through, her journey. This ministry has been a tremendous blessing to me, and it was an absolute answer to prayer. My church background is quite eclectic. When I was 19, I started off at a Baptist church. Then I ended up in a Presbyterian church, a Pentecostal church. Then I think we finally landed in a non-denominational church, and then from there we went into the Messianic congregations, and from there we have just recently, within the last few years, come into a Torah observant belief system, which I can share more of that in another video. But that's basically where I've been over the last 30 years of my life. But I wanted to share with you what I was ill with. I was diagnosed with something called multiple chemical sensitivity or environmental illness. And I also had fibromyalgia. I'm going to be reading from my notes, so if you see me put my glasses on and looking down, that's what I'm doing, because I want to make sure I don't leave anything off here. But I was diagnosed with the multiple chemical sensitivity, which is an autoimmune disorder. I had fibromyalgia, anxiety, panic disorders, food allergies, many food allergies. I was down to only being able to eat 3 different foods at one time, and that was it. I had lactose intolerance. I could not digest meat. I had digestive disorders, esophageal spasms, migraines, and I did have my gallbladder removed at one point. And I had, psychological issues as well. I had the germaphobe situation going on. I was very afraid of germs. As I said, panic and anxiety disorders. A recent healing that I just recently went through within the last 4 years was I was diagnosed with endometriosis, and I worked through the spiritual roots, and I have been free of that now for about 3.5 years. A very painful disorder. Anyone who has it knows you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. It's incredibly painful. I suffered with that for about 1.5 years, even working through the spiritual roots. Just for whatever reason, could not grab a hold of that, but finally I did, and the Father was gracious to me, and I was healed of it. Backtracking a little bit, many doctors tried to help me and could not. They just didn't know where to start. Back when I was diagnosed, when I was having my issues, they didn't know what to call it. And this was probably about 20 years ago, 19 years ago or so. And they really didn't know what to call it. And they really thought it was all in my head, which really just made it worse. And then I ended up going to an alternative doctor who understood what she was seeing. And at one point I was so sick, I was bedridden for about 3 months, and everywhere I went I had to be taken in a wheelchair because my immune system was so hyper reactive that I was reacting to everything all the time, and I was very weak and very sick, and I felt like I had the flu all the time. I was just very weak. And I also had a physical therapist coming in, a couple times a week working with me because my muscles had atrophied so bad. and I was just very weak. I was quite a mess. So again, doctors tried to help me. I was under the care of a couple different alternative doctors. Finally, this one alternative doctor he said, I've never seen someone this sick. And he said, I've seen cancer patients turn around faster than you are. And so he ended up giving me the book by Pastor Dr. Henry Wright, Be in Health, Spiritual Roots to Disease, which I will leave a link down below to their ministry and to their book so you can look at their information. So anyways, many people were praying for me, all kinds of people, Pentecostal people, Baptists, everyone was praying for me to get healed, and nothing was working. I literally was calling out to the Father for a good 3 months straight. I was just begging him. I said, please, if you're going to kill me, then I want to know why, because if there's sin in my life, I don't know where it is. I don't know where the sin is. Please help me. And I think that was actually the beginning of my healing, because I was at a place where I was ready to humble myself and receive instruction. As where I grew up in, from about 20 on, I was in the mainstream Christianity faiths. And so I just swallowed down everything they taught, and I thought I was okay. I thought, I'm saved, I'm going to heaven, I read my Bible, I do the best I can. But there was definitely a lot more in the background that I needed to be made aware of. There's other areas of our lives that where there is sin and we don't even realize it. And I'll get more into that as I go on. Yes, so eventually I ended up having this dream. Long story short, maybe I'll do another video where it's a little bit more detailed, but the bottom line of the dream was I saw where I was going to go get healed. And this book hadn't even come into my life yet. Then the book came into my life. I read the book and I called a friend and I said, do you know anybody who teaches this stuff? And she directed me to something called the healing rooms. And as they would have it, these people did understand Pastor Henry's materials and they did use them quite often. And so my husband took me there. I was in a wheelchair. I went in. I understood the spiritual roots to what had made me so sick. And I said I had multiple chemical sensitivity. The spiritual roots to some of that is extreme fear and a broken heart. I'd grown up in a very dysfunctional, abusive family, unfortunately, and I had suffered a lot of trauma. And when I got married and moved on, I thought, well, all that's behind me. But I had really it was still in here. Yeah, I was very much compartmentalized within me, and I had not worked through it. And the other part, is the broken heart, and that's the other part, because I was brokenhearted because of the trauma and the extreme fear. Well, through my journey, because I was so desperate to get healed, I had actually gotten involved with many modalities of healing that were occultic in origin, such as acupressure, acupuncture, oh goodness, what else? Biofeedback. I was into a lot of alternative things that were of a, what would you say, that were of an occultic nature. They began in occultic origins. So you have to look at things to make sure, when you open yourself up to spiritual things like acupuncture, acupressure, biofeedback, these things open you up, and they come from, they open up the chakras, and they open up different things. And this is very occultic. You are coming in contact with the Kundalini spirit and all of these things, and these are unclean spirits. So in your healing, you're actually letting more stuff in, unfortunately, and many people don't realize that. And these were Christians that were teaching me these modalities of healing, and so that's why I thought it was okay. And I thought, crystals were okay, all this stuff, because I thought, well, the Father made all this stuff, so it must be okay. And then I found out that it was not. And one of the things that I was sick with was every time I would try to get up out of bed, I kept feeling like something was wrapped around my chest and constricting me, like I could not breathe. And every time I would get out of bed, my blood pressure would skyrocket. And the doctors said they don't know why my blood pressure is doing this. When I would lay down, my blood pressure, was actually extremely low. When I would stand up, it would just skyrocket, because I kept feeling like something was just choking me. come to find out, it was that Kundalini spirit. Moving fast forward, when I went to the healing rooms and they understood what had made me sick, and they knew how to operate in this, and they understood his materials, they cast a lot of that stuff out of me. I was very skeptical because I really had gravitated to the Baptist way of thinking, and so I was really scared to get involved with any kind of casting out spirits or things like that, because I had had some really bad experiences with that, which maybe I can talk about at another time. But I'm so desperate. If there are evil spirits in me, on me, whatever, sitting in a tree talking to me, whatever they are, I want them out, I want them gone, and I want to repent, and I want to make sure I don't do these things again that will open the doors for them to come back. So, yes, so they prayed for me, and they cast a lot of this stuff out, and I literally could feel healing happening immediately. They just cast out these spirits. I went through all the spiritual roots of multiple chemical sensitivity, and I literally felt something leave, and I could feel strength coming back into my body immediately. And as I said, my muscles had atrophied so bad that it was hard for me to get up and walk around or to do anything. I had no stamina. I just couldn't do anything. My muscles, my arms hurt, everything hurt, my back. The fibromyalgia was so bad and so painful that it hurt for anyone to even touch me. That's how bad it was. So I'm just going through my notes here. So anyways, I was healed at that time, and literally it was like day and night when I went through that. I came home, I started eating foods that I wouldn't normally even dare touch, because I'm like, if I'm healed, I'm going all out. So I started eating anything and everything, and I had no reactions whatsoever. I came home, I started walking around the house more. At that time, my son was 11 months old, and I hadn't picked him up in 3 months because I had no muscle strength, no nothing. And I picked him up, and that's the other thing. When they prayed for me, I asked them to pray to bring the strength back into my muscles. And they laid their hands on my back, and I literally felt this heat go up my back, and I felt this strength immediately come right back into me. It was amazing. So when I went home, I picked up my son for the first time in 3 months, and I literally just ran around the house with him, and I was so happy. I was crying, I was laughing. My husband we were just all so happy, and it was an amazing time. Many people were very happy to see me healed, because at the time, my father-in-law had said to me, he said, I thought for sure we were going to bury you. And, and I thought the same thing, quite honestly. I thought, well, if I'm going to die, I want to know why I'm dying. But the Father saw fit to actually heal me, so I'm incredibly thankful and grateful for that. So, anyways, just going through my notes here, sorry. So as I began to heal, I started to do small groups and start small groups and go to small groups. I actually ended up having to leave the church that we were currently in because they did not embrace these principles at all. I tried to share it with them, and they wanted nothing to do with it. So I started my own home group, and then it kind of extended out into other people's homes. And so I was going around teaching these things for several years, and I stopped after a while just because of some personal things we had gone through as a family and different things that had happened. And just as of late, the Father has put on my heart to start a YouTube channel to share these things, because it's so important. Because as we look around in the world, there's still a lot of hurting, sick people in the world, and there's so much going on right now, obviously, with the virus and all of the things happening there. We have been blessed. As far as we know, we have not contracted it. We've all been very healthy during this time. We do not take that for granted at all. So we've been blessed. But the Father really put it on my heart to start this YouTube channel and go deeper into the spiritual roots of things. because I feel that it's very, very necessary, because there's so many blind spots in the believer's life. And we really need to see what those blind spots are and remove the enemy so that our bodies will do what the Father intended them to do from the beginning. So anyways, also part of me starting this was I was praying about it, and I said, Father, I'd been reading the talents, about the talents in the Bible, about where Yeshua was talking about the talents, and about how people went and buried their talents. And I thought, well, I understand that in this particular instance it means talents, meaning money, but talents can also be, I think, actual talents. And long story short, my husband actually ended up having a dream about the Be in Health stuff, and about going to the store and seeing all the Be in Health materials and different things. And I thought it was so odd, because I'd been praying about it and he didn't even know that I had been praying about this. And so I find that very interesting, and that's a very comforting, confirming word, I think, from the Father, how he does that with me very much. He'll give a family member a dream about something that I've been praying about, and I don't tell anybody, and I do that on purpose, just so I know it's truly him and not me, influencing the family in any way, but it truly is him. So I said, okay, Father, and I'd been reading some other things, and I'm like, okay, I hear you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start this channel. So anyways, I wanted to make this particular video short, and in the next video, I would like to go into more of the details of multiple chemical sensitivity and the spiritual roots. I want to go more in depth with that. Now, I will be reading from the materials. I will not be showing them on the screen or putting them down below, just simply to honor the ministry. I want to make sure I give credit where credit is due. And if you would like to just pause the video and write the materials down, please feel free to do that. As again, I will put down below the YouTube channel and their website, so that you can go and get their information from them directly as well. And there is a book that Pastor Henry wrote. He has 2 books out, I believe. The one that I have right now is A More Excellent Way, Spiritual Roots to Disease. And it includes 150 testimonies and teachings. And I will be sharing those also, the healing testimonies that I have seen in the lives of other people in my family and friends that have gotten healed through this ministry and through these principles. And I have seen several healings, and it's been very encouraging to me. And even in my own children, my own family, we have seen a lot of healings, from serious deathbed situations right down to just, flus and colds and different things like that. So it's been very encouraging. So I would just encourage everyone to stay tuned. Please like and subscribe. I'm not trying to build my kingdom here. This is not to be monetized. If you'll notice, I am not going to monetize these videos. Money is not my goal. I'm not looking for 1 million people to subscribe. I'm just looking for this material to get into the hearts and lives of people that may truly need it, and that is my goal. I'm shutting down the numbers and all of that. This will not be a monetized channel. This is just a place where I can share information with you, and we can share together. I can pray for people, or maybe answer some questions. Please feel free to put those questions down below, and I'll be happy to answer them. I don't know how far this channel will go. It may only reach just a few people, and if that's all the Father wants, then I'm okay with that. Once again, what I have told you in the beginning, we come from a Torah observant background now. This is what we have come into. Torah observant, meaning that we do not celebrate the secular holidays, the Christmas, the Easter, Halloween, all of those things. We keep the feasts that are in the scriptures, and we keep the Sabbath, which is for us is Friday night sundown to Saturday night sundown. That is the Sabbath to us. And we've realized even here that the enemy has definitely blinded us in many areas, which I will talk about more about our Torah observant journey later on in this channel, and you'll see that. But healing didn't come to me necessarily because I was Torah observant. it came to me because I was willing to humble myself and I was willing to be corrected. The scriptures say that, he gives grace to the humble, but he resists the proud. That is the starting place. And the Father was incredibly gracious to me. And you will hear me refer to Jesus as Yeshua. We have also heard him be called Yahusha, Yahushua, Yahshua. So I am not opposed to any of those. We're not dogmatic. We are learning ourselves, and I don't want anyone to be turned off. I want people to understand where we started, and you can see where we are at this point. We just recently began to come into the Torah observant community, and understanding that the enemy has definitely blinded our eyes about obedience in these areas as well, not just in having negative unclean spirits such as fear, self-hatred, bitterness, unforgiveness. These aren't just emotions, these are actual unclean spirits, and I'll be getting into more of that. When I realized that fear was a spirit and it was an unclean spirit and it needed to be removed out of me, that was also the beginning of my journey, because it was no longer me thinking that I was crazy in my head, that I'm just nuts, that wow, these truly are unclean spirits and I am not well because of them, not because of me, because what the Father created is perfect and good. It's when the enemy comes in and messes with it that things go bad, and many times obviously we open the door to that, either knowingly or unknowingly. We are the ones that open the door, but we can also push them out and shut the door. So with that, I would like to just end this video here. So this is just a short introduction to what I have been through, and I will expound on this as I go along. The next video that I'm going to do will be more in-depth of the spiritual roots of the multiple chemical sensitivity. I will be reading material from Pastor Henry's book and from the scriptures and sharing with you. And again, as I said, if you want to pause the video and write that down, please do that. I will not be showing anything on the screen, just to respect the copyrights of the Be in Health materials and their ministry. So anyways, I do hope that you find this a blessing. I pray that I will be a blessing and be able to help and be able to share. I am just one beggar telling another beggar where to find bread. That's really all this is. And anyways, Yah bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you. Be blessed, and I will see you in the next video.